Welcome to Focus on Business, a podcast show for photographers with me, your host, Jane Goodrich. I'm talking to successful photographers so you can learn from our experiences and have the business of your dreams. So join us and let's focus on business. Hi, and welcome to the show, Focus on Business, especially for photographers. And I am so excited to have the fantastic Tyler Cunningham. She is an amazing portrait event photographer that really specializes in storytelling and the power of images. And welcome to the show, Tyler.
Well, thank you, Jane. I'm so excited to be here. It is, it's a real treat. And I've watched so many of your episodes that I feel like we're best friends already. So I'm just appreciative of what you're doing, and it's serving not only the new photographers, I'm sure, but I've been in the business for a while and I've gained so much from it. So thank you for having me. Thank you for doing what you do.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. We'll tell our audience a little bit more about you. And I will put her website in the show notes because her work is absolutely amazing and I'm very inspirational. But we're talking business, Jane. So let's talk a little bit about who you are and what got you into photography.
Yeah. So thank you. So my name's Tyler Cunningham. I am a photographer based in Raleigh, North Carolina. I started my photography business in 2006. It was part-time sort of side hustle. My career was in nonprofit development and fundraising. I studied photography though, and it was always a creative, passion for me. And in about 2017, 2018, I started feeling a pull to sort of lean into that side of myself. And so it took, a couple of years for my husband and I to get our, sort of financials in a place that we could, begin this sort of entrepreneurial journey. And so late 2019 made the transition. And starting in January of 2020, we're pursuing the growth of this business. And then 3 months later, the world shut down with a global pandemic. And so it felt like, everything that we had planned was going up in flames, and it was really a scary time, but forced to really just kind of look internally. And so I took the camera and started documenting my family's journey through quarantine. And in that process, it was really sort of eye-opening for me because I learned the power of the in-between moments, those moments where the subject didn't necessarily know they were being photographed. I mean, my kids didn't know that I was photographing them while they were having a guitar lesson on Zoom. And the power of that was it was kind of a pivotal moment for me. And so when the world started opening back up again, and I was, again, kind of launching this business, and people were trying to build their online presence again through website, redesign and LinkedIn updated profiles. I sort of knew my why, and my why was in trying to tell the story of who the subject is, whether they're, a senior getting captured or, a milestone event or, or a branding shoot. It was, how can I frame this story through images? And so now we've just been sort of guns a-blazing since then.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that story. And I love how you sort of like transitioned there. I mean, I don't love the fact that you started in, right before the pandemic, but I think, you used the time well, I will say, to sort of have fine tune your creative vision. If you were to go back and tap yourself on the shoulder and tell yourself to do a few things differently, would you do anything differently? I mean, apart from stopping COVID, but that's,
Yeah. Wouldn't we all? But, yes. I mean, certainly I think there, I could name, handfuls of things that I would do differently. But I think that maybe the more powerful message. The more realistic advice for somebody would be that it's okay to make mistakes, that you're going to learn more from those mistakes than you're going to learn from the successes, or at least I did. And I think that it's part of the process, and we have to, whether we can, no matter how many Jane Goodrich podcasts we listen to be the best photographer we're going to be, we are still, it's still going to happen. And so, I think recognizing that and sort of figuring out a strategy for managing, the things that you would do differently. So make the mistake once and say to yourself, how do I make sure I don't make this mistake again? I think that is probably the more realistic, for me, the more realistic and like sort of powerful message.
Yeah, I agree. I think certain ones are, like for me, it was like boundaries. I wish I'd have told myself boundaries. Other people, like pricing. I didn't understand pricing, and but I love what you said about you're gonna make mistakes. We're all gonna make mistakes, regardless of even if you like summarize the laundry list of what the photographers on here say they would wish they would do, and you didn't do any of them. You're still gonna do mistakes, right? But to learn from them, I love that. I actually didn't realize I was doing this, and actually until probably when I was doing this podcast, is after every shoot, I would always write down what went well, what I would improve. I still, like 14 years into it, I'm like, okay, did I pick, that location was not the best for a 2-year-old. Like next, it should be for 5 to 6-year-olds. Every single shoot, I was like, what did I learn? Yeah, wow. And just so I can like not make the same mistake again, I call it like I actually called it post-shoot mortem. Yeah. This is a post-mortem. But I just want to make sure that I'm constantly improving, or like that image, I had the wrong settings on that image, or that location was perfect. And I always like to say what went well, because, I think that we always are hard on ourselves. So it was a little bit of like, how did I miss that the person, all shows up in stripy matching outfits and they didn't read my wardrobe guide? What? I go back and in the emails, I'm like, did I not send it? And, I automate everything. So I'm like, what could I have done better to avoid that? So I add it. Maybe I add it. Do not wear matching stripe to my wardrobe guide. Right? So, and it's always like, add something to your contract. Like, if, I feel uncomfortable, I will leave, So I love that. You're in Raleigh, North Carolina. If you had to move, shall I give you a place to move to Hawaii? Do you want to? I most people to Hawaii. If you have to move to Hawaii in like 3 months, like, what would you do for your business first? You'd be like, apart from just like, I'm going to just.
Yeah, right. I think I'd retire. I'd be like, we're done. We're done with this. No, I think, so the practical thing is sort of, the SEO, optimizing all that. But I think for me, my business is, it's so based in deep relationship, and connection with my client. I think I first would give myself some, like, the grace of, a year of knowing that it's going to take a while to build up a new base. And so let's not drop the former, right? So like, I think I would schedule for, like quarterly shoots back in Raleigh. And so I would try and take care of the relationships that I had built for so long, and also have the stability of that income from those clients, and begin that transition process. And then I think I would, again, go back to those same relationships. We're so, like, this world is so unbelievably interconnected now. And so I think I would work with those relationships to say, okay, who do you know in Hawaii? I mean, will you make some introductions? What businesses would people have that might have offices in Hawaii? And so I think I would try and, like, again, kind of, I worked for decades to build up the relationships that I have here. And I think I would try and, maximize those as much as possible.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we sort of miss a little bit. It seems so easy, I'm just going to take, photographs and, I'm going to become a photographer, but it is a lot of relationship building, and those relationships take time, like a relationship for somebody to refer you constantly to their clients. It's going to take a while. They're not going to just refer them to, nobody, so I think, and also giving yourself grace. And I think that that's one thing that I see a lot is, like quit your day job and now I'm going to become a photographer, but without all the relationship building, your SEO building and all that stuff, it's going to take a while. There was actually a podcast, and she doesn't do it anymore. She's great, Gina, I forget her name, but she would say it takes 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
To like relationship build, to like get to a steady where like for me, and actually for me, that was 5 years was when in my fall season, I would just be booked with repeat clients, and I couldn't take any new clients from basically the end of August to like December. And I will say that that's good timing for where you feel comfortable and where your next client is going to come from, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. And we just touched on it, but what is your favorite form of marketing? Do you have one if you had to pick?
Yeah. So so much of my marketing is word of mouth, but Instagram has been something I've focused on over the last year. I've, bit the bullet, hired a social media person. And it has, it's paid off in dividends. It really has. Just being consistent, just having a consistent, voice in front of people has been really important. But I recognize that I need to diversify that, and so we're working now on a newsletter, and I'm hopeful that will then be kind of a monthly, marketing and communication strategy to those that are like super engaged in my audience. But yeah, right now it's predominantly, social media.
Yeah. And so you get clients from Instagram?
Yes. I think certainly I have some folks reach out directly through the app. I think more than anything, what I've seen, particularly in the last 8 months is it's keeping me top of mind.
Yeah.
And so when somebody has a need, I think that I have been much more present in the folks that the person that they reach out to, because they're seeing me all the time. And it is at a point in some cases where I'm like, I want to unfollow myself. It's because those of us who are behind a camera, we're behind a camera for a reason often.
Oh, totally.
Right.
Yes,
and so like when I have to have my own branding images, it's just, it's a painful, cringy process, but I think, it is I can see, we've looked at the numbers, and I can see a direct correlation between when I started posting, 3 times a week, to when I was posting, once a week, once every couple of weeks. And the business has, it's grown exponentially since then. So
yeah. I think that's a really interesting point of what you said, is sort of like I'm keeping it top of mind. And actually that's how I treated my Instagram account. I was like, I did get a couple clients from Instagram, but I was like, it's top of mind awareness, right? I'm not going to do a million different things on it, because I have my other channels that I do, like I Google ads or my website, ranking number 1, and my email. I do love my email, right? Because I'm nurturing those, right? So the inquiries, it's a little easier. For me, it's more of an easier return on investment. But one tip you just made me think of is I actually friend my clients on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and I had, it's not by any ingenuity or like creative thinking. I had my daughter in 2015, and I think everyone thought she was like, something was wrong with her because I didn't post any photos of her. I was just too tired. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Right.
So one day, someone was like, where's pictures of Emma? And I just literally took a picture of my phone and wrote Happy Monday from Emma. And then people were like, oh, cute. And then I was like, I should post another picture of Emma. And I wrote Happy Monday because it was a Monday. And I just wrote Happy Monday from Emma in the next week. And then what happened was people were messaging me, where's my Happy Monday picture? It became a thing. I mean, honestly, it became a weekly thing.
Oh, that's precious.
It was precious, right? However, I have a lot of clients that are in my hometown, and then they would walk up to Emma and they're like, oh, I feel like I know you. She's like, who are you? Right? And so then now she has a voice. She's 9. She's like, I don't want to be on Facebook.
Oh.
So now I can't do it. But I do think that it having like that connection where you are in their face nonstop, there's no way that, they're going to go somewhere else when they just see me. And then they feel like that they know me as a human because people buy from people. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like a little bit more. You don't have to talk about your coffee or your Starbucks or this, that, and the other. You could just show what you feel like, schlep your kid out there. No, I'm just kidding. Won't let me anymore. Anyway.
But I do think, I think that that it speaks to your authenticity in that space. And I think that's where it resonates with people, at least for me, and I'm sure that's why the pictures of Emma were the ones that they were all coming back for, because they knew that those were really from you and your heart. And it wasn't manufactured and it wasn't perfectly curated. And so I think that's I think part of why it's been effective for me is similar in that, I've tried to make sure my voice continues to stay really real, where we're not always trying to show all the perfection, but we're showing. I mean, yesterday I had my assistant videotaping me in a shoot, and I was climbing up on a stool and she was videotaping me from behind me. And there was absolutely nothing graceful or attractive about that shot. But I think I'm going to post that because, this is real. And I mean, it's not always curated and, perfect and beautiful.
I remember the one time I was doing an overhead shot. This is when I was doing in-home sessions, an overhead shot of a baby, with my camera around on a bed. And for some reason, I just felt something behind me. And it was a grandma, I'm not joking, like filming, but basically filming my butt. I thought it was just like, I don't know where this is going to go, but please just don't film my butt. Anyway.
Yeah, or at least get the right angle. Like,
come from, I was on a bed. Like, this ain't no good angle.
No.
Anyway, I'm like, and I was like, and she was short. And I was just like,
oh that's bad.
Photograph my butt and post it all over everywhere, but it's fine. Anyway, so you hired a social media person. What else have you outsourced? Because we do tend to take on everything as photographers, but realistically, a photographer, we use a camera, right? We take photographs. Like, that is one job. Editing, another job. Social media, another job. Website design, another. Like, we do so many jobs that you could be working 200 hours a week.
Right.
200 hours in a week. It's 200 hours a week. But yeah, like 200 hours.
Right. No, I hear you. So it took me a long time to get to the point where I felt like I'm going to take myself seriously enough to, you've got to invest in yourself. And I think that, so now I outsource accounting. I'm not a numbers person. I outsource my social media. I outsource editing. I have a client management system. So, I mean, technically there's some outsourcing there and automations. And I have, assistants kind of come and go. So nothing like consistently full time, but they, I bring people in and out. And so I outsource some admin stuff there. I mean, I still feel like with my work, I'm overseeing it all. So you still, I have a hand in all of those pieces, although the accounting, I don't oversee it all. I
really neither. I think I had an accountant before I even opened my business.
Yeah. It's best.
I did. I was like, no way.
It's best for everyone if I stay completely out of that realm. But yeah, I mean, I've invested in myself, and it allows me to, spend my time doing what I think I do best. And that's building the relationship with the client and sort of capturing that story.
I love that. I think that that's a way of like where you sort of like investing in yourself. But I also think it's sort of a switch from taking it from like, I'm a photographer and I'm doing it on the side to actually, I am going to run this like a business. But I think it's interesting because even if you do it on the side, you can really make your life so much easier by charging enough to actually outsource and then do the stuff that you love. And otherwise it makes it kind of a little bit of a grind, you know, like it takes all the fun. It's like a fun sucker, you know, like for me, editing, fun sucker. I don't know why I like that word.
I love that word.
I'm just like, my husband said something yesterday about the camp counselor for my daughter. It's like fun. Anyway, side note. But basically, I think that if you can really recognize that there are many different jobs and you don't have to do them all, do you have, you know, I was speaking to somebody the other day and she was like, well, I'm learning website design. And I was just like, why? Like, right, you know, like do 5, you know, like just go on shoots and outsource it because they know what they're doing, especially SEO. Like SEO, I think for me would probably be the second one I would outsource because Google's changing all the time. Do we have time to figure it out? No. Right. I'm not going to be keeping up with Google algorithms, but somebody that's their job to do, you're going to really, really help. So yeah, I think that is just really, in your area, do you have seasonality? I mean, you have branding, families, corporate, like do you have any seasonality to your business or how do you cope with that?
Yeah. So the weather doesn't, you know, it doesn't create as much seasonality as other areas, but I mean, my business, because it started with families, it sort of, there was, and even with, I do sort of micro weddings, that has some seasonality to it, but mostly, you know, I feel like even with branding and things, people start thinking about photographs in the latter half of the year, you know, like in the fall so for years, my fall and leading into the holidays, I mean, by the time, you know, the holidays come around, my family doesn't want to see me anymore because I'm so stressed out and burnt out. And so I, you know, in the last year and a half, I have worked really hard to create a consistent schedule. And I've done that by sort of creating promotions and communicating with people to remind them of opportunities outside of that season. And so right now, like July, for example, I'm running a Christmas in July special. So if you book your family session for your holiday card, you know, you get a discount. And I've got a number of bookings for that. You know, they're tan, you know, we're doing it right before sunset, so it's not as hot. And so I think it's just being intentional about encouraging people at different, you know, during traditionally slower times, to think about those things. And it's, you know, it's worked. I mean, again, it's putting the messaging in front of people and allowing them to absorb it and then, you know, moving from there.
Yeah. I mean, with family photography, I think, and this is because as people start, you know, doing it for a longer period of time, I'm like, okay, can we get another season like in your photo? Like, these leaves are annoying me. Like, you know, can we get another season, please? So, but as kids get older, it becomes easier. Yeah. So if they are babies, right, they are going to change from like 6 months, you know. But like, as I will say, just as a tip, as people have older kids, they are more likely to do a summer shoot because they've done the fall shoots. And, you know, like, and then also one other tip that I can't remember, I think it was when my sister's kids started being in sports in the fall, you know, they're at that age like 7, 8. I would say my message, I'd have an email out saying, you know, before the fall craziness of sports, get your, you know, photo shoot done before the school madness starts. And so like that August time where people are like, you're looking tan, everyone looks great. And, you know, send an email with like a great, gorgeous summer photo shoot, you know, and people are like, oh yeah, I know sports season is crazy and I have 3 kids and they're all everywhere else and I can't get them on a weekend or after school because they're in practice, you know, so when they're off school. And so it's just moving them. And I ended up I do newborn, so that sort of deseasonalizes it for me too. But I like your idea of like just really promoting different. Christmas in July is a great one. And as you build your business, like you really need to push people earlier and different types of shoots, right? So like, like let's not go with the fall. Let's do a spring one this year.
Right. Right. And I think reminding them, so in whatever your marketing channels are, sharing the work that you do on a regular basis and not just waiting to do, to share your family images in the fall, but to share them all year round or share branding images all year round. Again, I think, at least for me, being top of mind to people for whatever their needs are on a regular basis, they connect with that and they say, oh, I have to follow up with her because it's, I need to get that done for myself. Yeah.
I didn't, and again, this is something else I didn't realize I did until, what I will do is I'm on a shoot with somebody, especially my fall clients. So I'll be like, you know what, next year we should do spring. I have this perfect park for you. And like May is perfect. So, I'm going to remind myself to put it in the car. I basically tell them where the next shoot is going to be. Because if you've been doing it for 10, okay. And then I'm thinking that we should do the June or like a different. So even if it's a family that's newer to me, I'm like, okay, well, I'm on the shoot. I'm like, this was perfect for your family, but I have a great location for you next year. I think we can do X, Y, Z. And this day is perfect in the weather. This is perfect. So I'm going to probably put you down for this one. And they're like, okay, yeah. All right. So I pencil them in. And then in January, I send them an invoice.
Well, that's so smart because
it's itself.
Yeah. And it makes them right. And it makes them feel special. I mean, you've thought about a space for them that is going to, really resonate. And so, I mean, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think and you can do it if you have even a studio and, you're like, okay, well, I know, I book up, but this weather seems great. We're doing outside, I'm going to pencil you in so we get that day. I want to make sure I get you that day. It's easy.
Yeah.
Right. And I hate sales.
Yeah.
But like, if you talk about it in the sense of, like, oh, I just shot at this perfect location for us next time. They're like, okay. And the moms, okay, who isn't busy? Right. Who isn't like, busy, stay at home mom's busy with 3 kids, working mom's busy, we want somebody to control.
Right.
Be like, okay, I'll do that next year. Yeah, sounds great. Just let me know. Parents like, well, can you send me links on wardrobe? Okay, I'll do that. Yeah.
I know. I tell you, whenever people tell me that it freaks them out that their phone is always listening to them, because then it pops up ads for things that it heard in conversation. I am like, I need all the help I can get. I mean, I am glad that there's somebody out there.
I am glad. I'm like, and maybe it's the people that don't like it because they've got something to hide. Right. I don't have anything to hide. And you want to hear me talk about, like Paw Patrol, and now I get videos for Paw Patrol, go ahead.
Yeah.
Although I get, mainly it's like cameras that, and then I'm like, oh, I really need that. No, I don't need it. So we talk about clients. You've been in business a long time. Do you have any red flags that you sort of like, this is either going to be a really hard shoot or like, I'm not going to, this isn't going to be a match for me. Do you have those?
Yes. So I do a consult call now, just a 10 to 15 minute consult call prior to each session when a client reaches out. And that's, past clients, new clients. It's, I know some photographers feel like it's too much of a time commitment for them, but it's helped me. I've gone down so many paths of booking somebody at one price, and then we get to the session and they ask, for something in addition to that. And I'm stuck trying to figure out on the fly how to handle charging them extra for anyway. So I think that, for me, it's a wonderful first, kind of impression to have that conversation. And so for the new clients, I can get a feel, your gut tells you real quick if this might not be a great match. But a specific red flag is when, they're in a real hurry. They need the images yesterday. They need a quick, family shot for a Christmas card, or they need just one LinkedIn picture. And I think I have recognized over time that the client that comes in with that sort of a need isn't on board with my process, that my process is connection. It's, me sort of really seeing who they are and being able to translate that into images. And that takes a minute. Plus it sort of devalues my, back end administrative process of having the time to get them a proposal and to have a contract signed and to get a deposit in before, the session is scheduled, because I don't like to hold a date until I know that I have a financial commitment from a client. And so it devalues that whole process. So I think, that's a big red flag. And I try and use that as, education. So this, to explain, so this isn't how my process works. And then if they sort of, rear back from that, it's a pretty good idea that might not be the best fit.
I can actually see that because, part of my deseasonalizing of my business is I also do headshots.
Yeah.
And some people need them for a press release right away, so if you're storytelling, more experience, and I mean, I still charge the same as but they just want the photo, that they want the one photo.
Right.
Right. But, it's not the branding type. It's like, all right, you just need a headshot.
Right.
What would here's another question for you. What would be the best advice that you've ever been given? Apart from the quote that you have behind your desk, you can tell us.
I think it kind of does go back to being bold and being fearless and having confidence in yourself. It takes a long time to feel like you are, that you're a photographer, that this is a career path, that you are legitimate, that that you can say with confidence that these are the prices that you charge and that this is the work that you do. And so, I think that, the trying to really hone in on the aspects of who I am that makes me unique to someone else. That was incredible advice that I got from a job coach, is helping me identify what makes me special rather than me trying to compare myself. I'm not the best technical photographer. I'm not the best with, off-camera lighting. But what, my ability to connect with the people that I'm photographing, I feel like I excel there. And so, I would say leaning into, the pieces of yourself that make you really special and unique. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I think that it, even, I do think that everyone's style is different and you could tell, but you are a unique person. And so what you bring to the world and your business is completely different than anybody else, and I have an identical twin and it's completely different what you bring to this world. So it's one of those things where just lean into who you are.
Right.
I'm the crazy, camera lady, according to my clients' kids, that wears rainbow poop hats, lean into it, right? During the pandemic, I was so afraid after, oh my gosh, I'm going to be wearing masks. They're not going to be able to see me smile. I bought $300 worth of silly hats.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kids didn't need it because they feed off energy, right? At that point, they're at the age where they just feed off whether, you're a good energy. I did not need them, but I do love my rainbow hat that's come out. But it only comes out at the end because kids will want to wear it. And I'm like, oh, the kid's wearing it. Yeah, I do get requests for that hat. But that's me, right? I'm the crazy person. I'm probably not going to be the same as someone serious and wants to, just lean into who you are.
Right. That's all you got.
That's all I got. Sorry, kids. Yeah, that's all she wrote. You can call me Crazy Jane. And then the kids still will not want to leave my shoot. They think it's like a play date. And they're like, can we see her again? And they're like, I'm like, okay. But I'm wiped out after.
Right.
I go all in. We all do, right? But I'm just like, why God, please go. Just kidding. Speaking of funny shoots, worst shoots, what do you have any fun stories to tell us and where you're like, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe I did that. Usually for me, it's I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
It's normally me being the funny one on
Yeah. Well, something happened recently, actually. I was shooting 4 authors that had collaborated on a book. And so they needed some like promotional pictures of the group. And I had done a previous site visit. I had sort of, I had styled the location where they were going to be shot. It was a beautiful scene on a patio. And I had one seated, one leaning, I had all the, everything was like beautifully curated. And I was in the grass in front of them. So I was on the lawn by the patio. And I couldn't get them. I had the whole scene painted, but I couldn't get them to sort of, feel like they were looking natural, like looking like themselves. And so I was chatting and trying to get them to, open up and let the guard down a little bit. And all of a sudden the sprinklers in the yard they popped up and they started, and I'm thinking, okay, we could all hear them. And I'm like, all right, I got like 15 seconds before these things start, shooting. And so I just sat there with my shutter, down and got that shot of them laughing at what was getting ready to happen. And my assistant was videotaping the whole thing. So we got me running in, after like that 15, 20 seconds, running off the lawn with the sprinklers, circulating. But it was a great shot. They had, I finally got that, that vibe of that they were all just exactly who they are, with those great smiles.
Now you need to just like plan the timing of those shoots there at the sprinkler time. You're like, hey, can you tell them to turn on the sprinkler?
Right.
Because they're not laughing enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I get anxious of like, oh, your camera getting wet. Well, speaking of cameras, like what is your favorite camera? What's your go-to camera?
Yeah. So I'm a Nikon girl. I started with Nikon and I kept wanting to potentially try Canon, but I had so much money in the glass that it was like, this is who I am. I'm a Nikon person. So, about, 8 or 10 months ago, I got the Nikon, Z6 II. So I went mirrorless and it's been great. I do much of my shooting is in really low light situations. And so that has been like super life-changing, that mirrorless switch. Yeah. And
it's lighter too, right?
Yeah. It's noticeable. It's noticeable for sure. It's weird to get used to the fact that you're not hearing the shutter click. So they actually have a beep that can give you, it's like driving a Tesla or something, or, where you've got to turn on a sound because people can't hear it reverse. But yeah, that's what I shoot with.
Yeah, no, I'm a Canon, but again, it's like I have I've shot on my friend's Nikon and so, different Sonys, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm not that picky. It's just I got the glass.
Right.
So, well, this has been absolutely amazing, and I loved chatting with you and all of your advice. And I just think that photographers can learn a lot about your story, and like tell us how photographers and people listening can find you. We will put it in the show notes so you don't have to spell it, but just let us know.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you. Thank you so much. This has just been a delight, and I've appreciated talking with you. So it's pretty easy. They can find me at Tyler Cunningham Photography. That's my website. That's my Instagram, Facebook. So yeah, I love connecting, and I try and respond to anyone who wants to reach out. So I'd love to hear from folks.
That's amazing. Well, thanks again. This has been so fun. I just really, really, and now I got the sprinkler story.
That was so good. I'll have to send you the video.
Oh yeah. Do you have it on your Instagram?
No, so we haven't started. They had to do a soft launch of the book, and I had to wait to do any promotion until after that. And so, yeah, it'll go up there for sure.
Oh, I think that would be really, really great for that book launch. Just to be like behind the scenes.
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
Free publicity.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Ty.
Thank you so much, Jane. I appreciate you.